guys, welcome back to another T3 Thursday's Tactical Tip. And today I want to introduce and talk to you about two concepts that the military uses a lot, especially in deployed locations, and those are rules of engagement and escalation of force. Now I want to talk to you about these and how they apply to regular civilian life, especially in a threatening situation while carrying a concealed weapon. First off, there's three things that you need to remember for rules of engagement. The first thing is that the force that you use, it needs to be reasonable, okay? So bashing somebody's head in because they flipped you the bird is not reasonable. However, using your handgun to protect yourself from a madman carrying a knife and threatening you, that is reasonable. The second thing is the force that you use needs to be proportional to whatever the threat is. So if somebody is threatening to punch your lights out, that doesn't mean that you pull out your handgun. However, if somebody's coming at you with a knife, something like that, it is proportional. That doesn't mean that you use a bat for a bat, but it means deadly force is used to react to a deadly threat. And finally, the third thing is that the force that you use, it needs to be used to stop the threat. And really no further than that. Once the threat has been stopped, you need to stop. Now, I understand this is going to be really tough to do because your blood's pumping, you're really excited, the adrenaline's going, and you're probably pretty angry. But you really need to make sure that you stop. There have been a couple of cases that have happened recently where I think people forgot this and they ended up in trouble. They're in jail now because of it. The first one, there was a pharmacist who, a couple of teenagers came into his pharmacy. They decided to rob the place, I don't know, drugs, money, something like that. And the pharmacist pulled out his gun and he fired. And he actually hit one of them in the head, but it didn't kill him. It knocked him out, and he's unconscious on the floor, and he chases the second guy out of the store. Well, the pharmacist then comes back. Guy is still unconscious on the floor. He puts 5 more rounds in him. Now, up until that point, everything the pharmacist had done had been perfect and spot on. He protected himself. He protected his business. He protected the other customers. But when he put 5 more rounds into the unconscious thief who was trying to rob him, he became an executioner. That is where it turned into murder as opposed to a justifiable shooting. Now the second case, it's fresh in the news, and this is the guy from Minnesota. A couple of teenagers came into his house. There's some debate on whether he lured them there, he made them think he wasn't home. You know what? None of that was wrong. He didn't do anything wrong by hiding his vehicle, making it look like he wasn't home. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, the fact that he was down in his basement with a gun, nothing wrong with that either. Where he went wrong was after incapacitating the first person, he then drops a one-liner and then puts another couple of rounds in him. He then waits a couple of minutes for the female teenager to come down the stairs, puts her down, drops another one-liner, and then finishes her off. Now, the problem, I think, comes from the fact that it was a vindictive act. He had incapacitated them already. He then verbalized his disdain and disgust with them and his desire for them to be dead, and then put more rounds in them. And finally, where he really went wrong, he didn't report any of this for a day. So now he has that appearance of guilt. He recorded it himself, which was used as evidence, and probably the biggest evidence against him was his own recording. And really, you know, he crossed that line as well. So we need to make sure that we draw ourselves back and hold ourselves back once that threat has been stopped. Once we've gotten to the point where things are turning really south and we've tried to escape, there's no escape, and we need to now escalate our force. Now, escalation of force in the military, there's a lot of other things that we do, very specific things that we do as far as escalation of force while deployed. I'm not going to get into that because every theater, every commander, everything is different. A lot of people have talked about the 4 S's, and if you don't know what those are, the 4 S's are shout. So we shout in their face, stop, okay? We want them to stop. We're shouting stop. That does a couple of things. It might surprise them. It also draws attention from anybody outside. Hopefully we can get help to us. You were showing that you were trying to diffuse the situation without using violence first. Now, the second thing, okay, after you do shout, then it's show, as in showing your handgun, shove, pushing them away, and finally shooting. Now, I personally think those two in the middle should be reversed, because I don't necessarily think that showing your handgun is the proper thing at this point. And some states, if you draw your handgun and you don't use it, it's okay, but you're starting to touch on a fine line of brandishing your firearm. So you really need to make sure you know what your state's laws are on brandishing and what is considered brandishing a firearm. For the most part, it's if you pull your gun out and make a threat at somebody. But if they're already threatening you, you should be okay, but you really need to make sure you understand your local laws. So, me personally, I believe that shout and then shove and show are more of a simultaneous thing, pushing away, getting yourself some distance, showing your handgun, finally, if necessary, taking that final step of shooting. Another way I've heard it described, instead of the 4 S's, I've heard it the 3 V's, and those are vocal, a vocal warning of some sort, a visual, which is the hand in the face, as well as showing your firearm, and finally violence, pushing away and firing. So whichever you use, the 4 S's, the 3 V's, I don't care what you use, the ABCs or the 1, 2, 3's, it doesn't really matter, but you really should have these tools in your toolbox, something so that you can escalate the force, and hopefully it ends with the shout, or even before that, just by being aware of your situation and being a hard target. So anyway, I want to show you what that looks like right here. Stop! Stop! If you like this video, be sure to subscribe. Just click on the bullet down in the corner. And if you have any comments, questions, or tell me what you do as far as escalation of force and rules of engagement, put them down in the comments section below. And until next time, take care and be safe.